I'm going to tell you something that no one has taught me in over 20 years, and I had to learn it the hard way. You know, I've been a registered investment advisor, financial planner for well over 20 years. And I've actually helped manage thousands and thousands of people's financial wealth during that period of time. But here's the deal. I made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, built a really successful practice, and I have very little to show for it because I was leaking. I bought the $1 million house, the cars, the toys, the vacation. From the outside, I looked exactly the way you're supposed to look when you're winning. From the inside, no foundation. I was going from income to lifestyle, and there was nothing in between to solidify my game plan. And then life stress tested me like it does all of us, and I got a divorce. Because of the settlement, I had to reset my asset base, almost learning and growing from zero to build my practice. If you don't know that life is going to press you, understand this. You don't stand a chance if you don't have a solid foundation. And that's when I learned the thing that no one had taught me in over 20 years. There is a huge difference between earning well and being wealthy, and that is not income. It's infrastructure. You need a solid core foundation. And here's why I'm sharing this with you. My financial identity as a registered investment advisor was off. And if you are making good money, and I'm sure you are, you're a high earner, successful from the outside, like I said I was, there's a good chance that behind closed doors, you're feeling like, I'm not quite where I should be. I'm definitely not where people think I am. And I'm wondering what the gap is. Well, listen, I'm not here to tell you you're broke, because you're not broke. You're just unstructured. And I know that because I was the most successful unstructured person I ever met. So here's what we're going to do for the next hour. I'm not going to teach you how to budget. I'm not going to tell you to cut up all your credit cards. I'm not even going to give you a lecture. That is actually not even a problem for someone in your income bracket. Your problem is diagnostic. You need an operation system. So what we're going to do is get you your number, the number that most high earners never ever really know about, even though that number has been bleeding you out all of these years. And once you see that number, you're going to figure out and understand real quick why that never was your problem, and you're going to understand how we're going to fix it. So I want you to do a few things for me. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to download the workbook. And then I want you to get every bank statement that you have for your credit cards, check it for reoccurring charges, every expense that you have, the dining out, your gasoline. Let's get every charge that you have. And once you have that, go ahead and come back. We're going to step into our next module. We're talking about system failure. Now we're going to get into diagnostics, but before we do, let's talk about the lens that you really need to have, because with the wrong lens, you're going to end up thinking that you have a discipline problem when all reality, you have a systems problem. Now this is the part where most people want to skip or fast forward, and you really shouldn't. So just stick with me for the next few minutes. This is going to be the glue that keeps the rest of the course together and help it make more sense. You know, I've worked with people who believe the myth that making more money will fix more problems. Listen, you believe it, the world reinforces it, but the truth of the matter, it doesn't. You know, you've heard the adage, more money, more problems, but let me explain why. I work with people who make $75,000, and they are cool, calm, and collective about their money. I also work with people who make $250,000, and they are panicking about their money. You see, the fallacy that more money causes more problems is not true. What happens is that if you have a money leak, that leak is hidden because you have the money to cover it up. The problem, of course, is that that gap continues to widen because you buy bigger houses, bigger cars, you make bigger mistakes. So with the bigger gap, at some point that leak is going to become unsurmountable, and now you have a real money problem and you feel uncomfortable. You know people who are up at midnight and they are panicking about their money. And they're telling themselves, I don't understand this because I make more money than I ever have before, but I feel uncomfortable about my money more than I ever have before. Well, let me tell you, it's not a feeling, that is a fact. And the fact is that you have a substantial leak because you don't have structure. Here's a thought I want you to kind of hone in on. Discipline is not a character trait. Discipline is architecture. It's design. You know, you operate your life smoothly at work, at home, in your relationships, with your family, with your friends. You don't white knuckle and worry about how to manage your relationships or your workload because you're an expert at that. It comes natural to you. So then you think about your money, and it's the one area that you are stressing out and it's not seemingly working in your best benefit. So the deal is that in work, in your relationships, you have a flow, you have a system, you have a way of operating that you know how to move, and therefore it's easy and you're successful at it. With your money, it's the only area you've never been taught how to structurally develop yourself, your funds, and you think, well, people that have more money are more disciplined. And the truth is they're not. They have a systematic way of operating, and they follow that system come hell or high water because they know it works. So when you see people that make a little money but they have money, they aren't more disciplined. They have a better architecture and design. The last idea before we get to the meat of the course is you have two problems that we make sure we want to solve. Finding the leak and permanently closing the leak. Today, we're going to completely focus on the first one, which is finding the leak. This process is going to do and deliver exactly what I shared with you, which is we're going to find that number. Where's your money going? Where are you hemorrhaging dollars? And how can we address that right now? It's important for you to know that number. Everyone needs to know their number because that's the number that's going to catapult you into having more dollars in your bank account. Closing the link, that's a 90-day process, implementing an operating system we'll talk about at the end of the course. So today, we're going to lock in. I hope you have everything ready. You've downloaded the workbook. Let's get it, finding that leak. We are at the point, the critical first step. This is where we start the diagnostics. So I need you to get your workbook, open it up, get your bank statements, have everything ready and prepared so that you can go through anything and everything that you spend money on so that we can find as many leaks as possible. We're going to start with the first leak, subscriptions, but there are 5 leaks. I'm going to take you through each one. We're going to go through and I'm going to share with you what you need to do step by step to identify, write that number down, and then we'll talk about implementation a little bit later. So I just want you to realize there are 2 rules to this particular section. The first rule is write down the real number. You know, this is no reason, no time to hide, no time to be dishonest with ourselves because you're not going to share the number with us. You're not sharing it with anyone else. This is strictly for you to identify your number, the number you need to know that's going to help you to critically advance your financial situation. Second rule, don't try to fix anything right now. Don't stop and go fix some leaks because you found one that blows your mind. Let's finish all 5 and then we'll go through an implementation strategy after that. The subscription leak is every reoccurring expense that you have that you may have forgot about or you're not using. You know, this is one that even I struggled with. I went through my system and I looked and I found I had 2 different automatic car wash subscriptions that I don't even have the car for anymore. These are charges that are reoccurring that you should be looking at. Maybe it's your streaming services. You've downloaded a ton of them, maybe not even watching them anymore, or you signed up for the 7-day free trial and all of a sudden they're billing you and you forgot about it. One of the ones that I really found hit me was I signed up for several fitness subscription apps, and I decided which ones I were going to use for tracking my fitness. It attached to my Apple Watch, and I was excited about it. I found one, and then I found one that was better, so I don't use the first one. So you start to look at your Apple bill. So you want to get all of your statements, right? I started looking at my Apple bill and looking at all the subscriptions, and I started going through duplicates that I could just cross out. When you take a look at what you're doing, don't forget that you might look at your statement for the last month, but maybe you're paying for something quarterly, maybe you're paying for something annually. So you want to take your time and you want to go through possibly even 12 months. But the real key, of course, is to look at where you're subscribing. So if it's on Amazon, if it's on your Apple or your Android, you can go to that store and see all of your subscriptions just for that part. And then you can attack that. Like I said, there are all these little hidden things, and you might find one or two that you're not even using. You had clients that had apps that they subscribed to for 4 years, forgot they were subscribing. You're busy and money leaks. That's why we're going through this process. So be thorough, write down every single one, because they're all going to matter when it ends, and we know we want to see the results. Now that you've finished leak number 1, let's move on to leak number 2, the fee leak. Now this one can really be sneaky because there are things you really don't pay attention to. I want you to take a look at your bank statements and see if you have any $5 service fees, $2, $3 ATM fees. Let's add all of those little sneaky fees up and understand that they will come to add up to a pretty decent amount of money. Even if it's $600 a year, those are dollars that you could be investing, that you could be using to eliminate debt. So all of these fees are going to matter. One of the biggest fees you're going to find is the interest that you're paying if you're carrying credit card debt forward. That counts as a fee. So let's take a look and see how much interest you're paying, and that's going to be added onto your fee sheet, because we're going to aggressively attack any of those debts to get rid of them. So also, don't forget that if you're not properly managing your resources and you have overdraft fees because you're swiping the card and then you're transferring money later, add up every single one of those. I can promise you that in some cases, those numbers are 10 a month, and that could add up to $300 at $30 a pop for overdraft fees. Of course, you can do things that we'll talk about to protect yourself against that, like making sure that you link your accounts so that if you have your automatic overdraft to cover any expenses that you might forget about just because they allow you to do that. I know on my own personal bank account, I mark the button that says do not let a charge go through if the money's not in the account for your debit card. So it'll just decline, and then I have to go transfer the money, but it's better than getting a $30 fee for having money and not having it in the right account. Leak number 3 is the convenience leak. That's going to be the biggest expense on your sheet, I guarantee it. Here's why. We tend to order Grubhub food orders, or we will get things that we didn't plan for, like you go out to dinner because you refuse to thaw food out before or go to the grocery store. So take your statements, look at your spending, look at how many times you're dining out that you really would have not done had you prepared in advance for your meals. Also take a look at other convenient expenses where you're getting things delivered, like your groceries, and you have to tip extra or swipe extra for those things because you just didn't want a plan. This convenience fee is more of a lack of planning than it is an actual fee that you should be paying. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should be out cutting your own grass or doing things that you truly could be making money while you're doing. We're talking about things that you could avoid if you just strategically planned a lot better or a little bit more in advance. I want you to look at these things without judgment. We all have things that we pay for just strictly out of convenience. The question becomes, is it a gap leak or is it strategically planned? I have no issue as an advisor if it's something that you've strategically planned. You might say, hey, every Thursday night is pizza night, or every weekend we're going to get our groceries delivered because we do XYZ, and you factor that into your actual expenses. It's when it's a convenience because you didn't strategically plan. So remember, discipline is architecture. We're not just operating on a whim anymore. We're going to know what our number is, and when we go off the path, we're going to know what it's going to cost us. Now we're at category 4, the lifestyle creep. This is the tricky one because it doesn't feel like it's a leak, but it really is. So the lifestyle creep is when we decide that we're going to upgrade without really needing the upgrade. I know personally, I was guilty of this with my mobile phone. You know, you want to get the latest and greatest phone, but you didn't need the latest and greatest phone because you weren't even using the tricks and tips and things that the new phone is supposed to do. You're still doing the same thing that your old phone did. And these phones are thousands of dollars, right? Or hundreds of dollars, close to thousands of dollars. And in addition, you know, you're looking at apps that we've just mentioned in the last one that you might be able to operate on the basic app, but you decide you want the premium version and you're not using the tools that the premium version offers. Don't get it twisted. I'm asking you, did you need to upgrade your new car, or was your other car just fine? Your old payment was $750, the new payment is $1,200, the insurance went up. Did you need that lifestyle upgrade? I said need, not want. Now listen, I'm not telling you to turn your car in. I'm not telling you to cancel anything at this moment. What I'm suggesting to you very strongly is that you understand what it is that you've used as an upgrade, a premium upgrade that you didn't need to upgrade. For me, it might be, hey, I have an American Express Platinum card that costs me $900 a year. Do I use it to the tune of getting the benefits of paying $900 a year, or should I downgrade this card to one that's $200 a year, save myself $700, and I still get the same usage that I was getting before? Again, no judgment. We just need to know what the number is. So write those numbers down, look at your lifestyle, see where you've upgraded that was just more of a choice of comfort and prestige than it really was a need. Write them down. What I would suggest extremely strongly is that once you know these things, there's some things that you can change immediately, you know, once we get done with this. There's other things, if you upgraded your car or your phone, you're not going to, you know, be able to change that. What you can do, of course, is the next time you need a new phone, you're going to wait until it's actually a need. The next time you decide to upgrade the car, it's going to be a need versus just, I want a cooler car. Does that make sense? I hope so, because these are real dollars that are going to make a real impact on what your dollars are, where they're going, and what you're doing with them, because we want to get away from addition, right? Saving $100, the next month is $100, to multiplication. We can have that $100, that $200 invested. Now it's growing 10x. That's what we're talking about. Compound interest, compound opportunities. But we got to know our number first. So let's dig in. Let's be accurate. Let's not hide, and let's be honest with ourselves. We are at the 5th leak, and this is the one that is really pretty interesting. So this is the catch-all leak, right? So you want to take a look at where your money's going. And I'm going to tell you, this is the way I think about it. If I were to ask you, before you looked at any of this, hey, how much money a month do you have left over once you've paid all your bills? And you sit there and you might know, you don't know, you might make a guess, and then you figure out, you say something like, I should have $1,000 left, and you don't, because your credit cards are a little bit too high, or your savings is a lot too low. So you know that you're doing well. You know you might be saving some money, you might even be investing some money, but you get this gut feeling, I should be doing more. This is the leak. So the catch-all leak is where you look at your bank statements and you see a line item and you don't even know what it is. You don't know what it is. You're like, man, I need to go back to my bill and look and see if I can find the identification of what this was. You're really searching and hunting. I don't want you to do that. Don't go back and look. All I want you to do is go, this is not a regular fixed bill. I don't know what it is. It's on the bank statement. That goes into the catch-all. Because if you don't know easily what it is, it's most likely something you didn't need. Now, sometimes that's not true. It might be a repair bill or something along those lines. But most of the time, the catch-all is a true catch-all. It is an expense you didn't plan on, you can't recognize, you don't remember what it was, you don't remember what you did with it or where you were. So write all those down. Again, we're not here doing a judgment. You're not going to judge yourself. We're not here to feel guilty. We're here to improve and execute. We're here to become elite operators. So in order to do that, we're not judging. We're going to figure out how we can best create our operation system, how we can identify our number, our pure number. So when this is all done, which is going to be the next module, we're going to add it all up and we're going to learn what our true gap is. So now the numbers are all coming together. So I need you to go to page 8 and we're going to carry forward all of the 5 leak numbers. Now listen to me carefully. I assume that you probably couldn't get them all in the workbook, so you needed an additional sheet of paper. But let's add them all up. Let's put them on page 8 and let's figure out what the total amount of the gap is. Most likely, you're probably surprised what that number is. But what I need you to do now is I need you to multiply that number by 12. That's going to be your annual leakage. If you found 10 grand, that's a significant amount of compound interest investments that you could be making on that money. That's your money making you money. But then we're not done. So you're going to take that 12-month number, you're going to multiply it by 5, and you're going to see what your leakage is for the past 5 years on average. Now that you see that number, I want you to have a benchmark. Like, is that too big? Is it too small? Is it normal? Here's the deal. Most of the clients I work with find somewhere between $600 and $1,200 a month, in leakage. When we really look at it, that means that they have somewhere between $7,000 and $15,000 of funds that they should have somewhere in their system that they can recognize for an asset. We never talked about assets, expenses, and liabilities, but we have talked about gaps, and that's where we are during this diagnostic. So if we don't have $7,000 or $600 a month, I want you to take a look, because sometimes we underestimate, that number 3 and number 4. Sometimes we overestimate, what we think we're doing savings wise. So I want you to double check. If you're over 15,000, I don't want you to beat yourself up. I've had plenty of clients over $15,000 a year. You're not broken. We just need some structure. I love it when clients have a big gap, because that means that if they're serious about their financial disposition, we can turn that around and we can use those funds to max out their retirement. We can use those funds for company stock purchase programs. We can elevate our emergency funds, our cash on hand. There's so many things that you can do to improve your financial life, which is the whole reason why you're here, when we know where our number is, what our number is, and where that money's going. So don't get dismayed. Let's stick with it and continue to follow through, because you've made it this far. I want to congratulate you for making it this far. You've gone through the first 3 modules. Number 4 is going to give you a couple key tricks that you can use to help you accelerate some of the growth that you've learned. Now, I want you to understand that most people do one of 2 things. They either panic and they run out and try to shut everything down. They try to reorganize everything. And unfortunately, that just doesn't work. Or they just shut down. They feel the shame. They decide that they are lost, or they don't decide. They just close the workbook and they let life continue to do some lifing. We don't want you to do either one of those. We want you to take a step back, absorb the number, See if that really means something to you, because you get to hierarchy how important this move is for you. I'm under the impression that it's pretty important because you've made it this far. You stuck with it. And we are not quite halfway there. You see, it takes us this 60 minutes to get to the point to where we know the first number. But it takes 90 days or so to really do a full install before your habits of the past become operations of the future. So in order to do that, we want to give you one thing that you can do like right away. And that is implement our 48-hour rule. 48-hour rule is when you take the opportunity to put a spending limit on any non-essential spending. So you very well may say that, listen, I'm going to limit myself to X number of dollars, and I would determine that number based on a percentage or an amount from your total new number that you just figured out, your new gap number. So if your gap number is that $600, you might say, I'm not going to spend $100 without using this new 48-hour rule. Or if it's $1,200, you might say, I'm not going to spend more than $100 or $200 until I use the 48-hour rule. The 48-hour rule is basically saying anything over your spending limit that you set, that you will not actually make that purchase until 48 hours. The rule really puts you in a position to do away with impulse buying. We know that companies, that sales practices are all geared, marketing is geared to get you to not think about what you're doing, but just to make that purchase. And what happens if you've ever looked at your American Express card or your charge card or your debit card, and you see how much frivolous spending you've done because we just did the exercise, and how fast it can go when you're not planning. Think about how many times that you've gone to Costco or Sam's Club or one of the big stores, and you go and you have a list or you have an idea what you want, and you walk out of the door with 2 times the amount that you planned on getting because you didn't have a strategy. It was an impulse. They're sitting there. Here, taste this. Here, taste this. And you're like, oh my God, that's good. Wasn't planning on buying it, but now I'm going to get it. So when we look at this, something like the 48-hour rule really makes a serious impact on your impulse buying. Most of the time, clients decide to never make that purchase. What I've told clients in the past is that, look, put it in your cart. If you see something you want, put it in your cart, and then go back and revisit the cart in a few days. If you still really, really want it and you've taken a look at your gap, now you can make an educated decision about if you really should make that purchase or not. Is there something else that you saw that was even better? And you know the algorithm. They are going to show you 1,000 pieces of that exact thing that you were looking to buy. Doesn't matter if you're looking at it on social media. Doesn't matter if you're looking at it on the website or even Amazon. You're going to start seeing them in your feed, and all of a sudden they're going to show you one better. So now you take the other one out the cart, you put this one in the cart. That's a new 48 hours you need to do in order before you make that purchase. This is going to be something that's really going to impact your impulse buying, that helps you maintain a smaller gap so that you're in control of your money. Because don't forget, every dollar has a duty. The 48-hour rule is just one of 4 inside of our full system. You know, you can get by using one. The truth of the matter is there are 3 more that put together really help solidify your game plan as you decide to move forward. And when we put that one with the other 3 and line it up with the automated banking system, your cash flow reporting, and your spending plan, it is a powerhouse of your operational system that's going to reboot, restart, and really begin to help you grow real wealth. Good stuff. Let me tell you, you've done a great job so far, but let's not stop now. Let's just keep going. What you did today was the first step in a 5-step process that we call the 24K Money Code Operators Bridge. We want to install a new operating system, which is why we call it a bridge, because we're going to take you from either the system you're using or the system you're not using into a rock solid system that we've used for thousands of individuals over the years. I tested it myself for a long time and began to share it with my clients who were starting to struggle. What you need to do is understand that you have already completed step 1. And that is identifying your true number. That's done. Step 2 is the system install. And I believe it's one of the most important steps of all the steps that we do. If you think about it, we're going to do a new operating system for you, and it's going to be a outside or a physical system install, and we're going to do an inside or behavioral mindset system install. You got to have that right money mindset if you truly want to elevate to become a wealth operator. The system install is pretty intense. It includes a banking system. We're going to tailor make your banking system, including everything that you do so that you can see clearly the flow of your dollars in every account that it's going to go through. We've already solidified the leak, but we're going to obviously have a complete system that we're going to walk you through. In addition to that, we're going to incorporate a debt relief strategy. If you have credit card debts that you're carrying forward, that needs to be part of our hard install system so that you know exactly what debt you have and when you're going to get out of it if it's revolving debt. Now, if it's good debt, we don't worry about that, but we want to pay off high interest rate cards, high interest rate cars, anything that's going to hurt our ability to build true wealth. In addition to that, we have a spending plan. If it's just you or you and your spouse, we need both of you to understand that the core success or failure of your plan is going to be your spending. And that's why we identified the gap so that we know what we're spending, what we're not spending. We want to move into the behavioral install. That is your money mindset. That's where we talk about the habits, the other 3 mechanics that we put in place to safeguard along with the 48-hour rule so that you know exactly what the priority is, what the system flow is, and where to go next. The behavior install is what dictates your personal code. You need a money code, a non-negotiable do's and don'ts that you set the parameter because your code is different than my code. But we're going to help you set that code. And then we're going to move into your one-on-one operator review. Every month, twice a month, we're going to go through your review. Hey, what's flowing in? What's flowing out? Where should it be? What problems are you seeing? Because here's the difference between what we do and what you might see out there in the universe. We're going to walk through this process with you. Because what we found is that when we give somebody a financial plan, hey, here's a $3,000 financial plan. That's normal. But what happens with that plan on page 62 when something goes sideways that you didn't plan on? That's where the rubber meets the road, because life is always going to life and things are going to change. We're going to be there with you one-on-one during these bi-monthly meetings, helping you figure that out. What debt should be paid next? Where should that money go? Because we truly want to get to the wealth accumulation, the wealth building, because you need to be an elite operator. Hey, you're a high performer, but ultimately we want to be in step 5, which is wealth alignment. And that's where operators live. See, once the system is set up, you've already got number 1 done. The hard system install's done. We're working on the behavioral. That's going to lead us to the alignment. And alignment means that you have your intention set, you have your purpose set, and everything is moving in accord where you need and want it to be in order to live the life you know you were born to live. Now that you know where you want to live and you know where you are and you know the flow, we're going to walk you through this process over a 90-day period. The problem for most people is that they stop after step 1 or they stop after step 2. You have to walk through the process from top to bottom. And that's why when you're saying to yourself, man, I've tried other systems before and they didn't work, I'm here to tell you that I pretty much know that you've not been in a system where your registered investment advisor walks you through the process one-on-one from beginning to end. And that's why, you found leaks before, but they came back. So, we call this the 24K Life Money Code. And this is the bridge to get you from where you are to a system of where you truly want to be, because this system is going to guide you to where you want to be. And once you get the install and it's locked in, you're going to own it after 90 days. And trust me, if you ever need a tune-up, all you got to do is hit us up. We're going to be there with you month after month, bi-weekly meetings, walking you through installing 100% and seeing results along the way. That's really all I'm going to say about this. I hope that you really extracted some value out of this course, because this is the beginning of a new day. You have to consider yourself like the phoenix. You need to die the old you and rise up brand new with wings of fire, ready to roll. And I believe that this needs to happen by any means necessary. Hey, click the link below and schedule your one-on-one meeting, and let's talk about how we can help you install your 24K Life Money Code Bridge.